රටම දන්න ඉංග්ලිෂ් මීඩියම් ක්ලාස් එක සූනි ව්ලොග්ස් by රොවිනි නානායක්කාර දැන් කන්ද උඩ රටට ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍ය නව පන්ති මහනුවර IMS ආයතනයේදී 8 ශ්‍රේණියේ සිට සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ දක්වා history, geography, civic education, health education ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍ය පන්ති විමසීම් 077 78 06 246 075 84 57 882
That day we started law and justice and we did up to types of laws, and the continuation of the lesson is domestic law. We have to do domestic law. Okay Putala, so domestic laws are operative and effective within the territory of a country. So that day we discussed many parts of the laws, and today I am going to explain domestic laws. So what do you know about this domestic law? So usually domestic laws are operative and effective within the territory of a country. Usually each and every country, they have their own system of law. So they can differ from country to country. As I mentioned you from my previous video clip, so we discussed many parts. So domestic laws can be differ from country to country. So in Sri Lankan territorial system, we can see another set of domestic laws. Likewise, if it is a foreign country or if it is an Asian country, whatever it is, we can see another set of domestic laws within the country. So they are enacted in order to meet the needs of the country. Domestic laws can be classified into two types as civil law and criminal law. So okay, you have to when in the term test, when the exam also, when you are mentioning about domestic law, so you have to mention these two parts. Those are civil law and criminal law. So they are described in the diagram given below. So usually when they are making, especially before when they are considering to making some domestic laws within the country, so government, they are paying their attention on these matters. Especially they are paying their attention on their lifestyle of the people in the country and their desires, attitudes, especially it should be well suited for the country. So before they are making some rules, so they have to consider on these matters. So they are described in the diagram below. Okay, so we are going to discuss further. Now you can see here differences between criminal law and civil law are as follows. Now we can see there are two types of laws within the country, criminal law and civil law. Okay, we are going to talk about the first one is criminal law. When a person damages the life or the property of another person, criminal law is applied to determine the case. Okay, criminal law. When a person damages the life or the property of another person, criminal law is applied to determine the case. Usually, so we can't damage the people, that means person's life or a property. We don't have right to damage for another party. So, if someone damages for others' life or a property, surely they will consider under this criminal law. So this criminal law is applied to determine the case. Okay, and criminal law does not have different branches, but it is classified as crimes of severe nature and minor offences. So usually Putala, criminal law does not have different branches. They don't have any different branches, but it is classified as crimes and severe nature and minor offences. So under these things only criminal law is ongoing. Okay, so they are considering. Okay, so special punishments are imposed or inflicted by the courts on persons convicted of such crimes and offences. So especially special punishments are imposed or inflicted by the courts on the persons convicted of such crimes and offences. Okay, let's see. Confiscations of property by the state, capital punishments, imprisonment. Okay, special punishments. So what are the special punishments imposed or inflicted by the courts on the person convicted of such crimes? So we discussed many crimes. So likewise, these crimes, confiscations of the property by the states, we can't damage the property of the states. Okay, capital punishments. So for these things, they are considering under the criminal law. Okay, so criminal procedure of 1979. Underline this thing. This is very important because criminal procedure of 1979 and the penal code of 1833 are important statutes that deal with crimes. So these are the really important statements, because sometimes you have to answer these things when you are facing your MCQ questions. Okay, so if they ask about the criminal procedure, you have to write it was on 1979 and the penal code 1833. So these are very important statutes that deal with crimes. In criminal law, the priority is given to punishments and rehabilitations. Okay, now we all know about rehabilitations. Okay, there are many rehabilitations centers in around the Sri Lanka also. So in criminal law, the priority is given to punishments and rehabilitations. Because they are considering, they are giving main priority for the punishments of rehabilitations. Okay, now we are in the last part of criminal law. Criminal law, the complaint or indictment is prepared by the police or Department of Attorney General. If someone is involved in criminal law, so usually those complaint or indictment is prepared by the police or Department of Attorney General. Now we have to discuss about civil law. Civil law resolves or deals with disputes among individuals. Usually from this civil law, under this civil law, they are considering about, or else they are resolving about deals with disputes among individuals. Now have we noticed some people, they are fighting for some land areas and some properties. So for those cases, they are considering under civil law. Okay, and civil law has different branches: law of contract business, law family law. So the civil law has different branches. If they ask you to write about what are the different branches of civil law, then you have to write law of contract business, law family law. Okay, so these are the branches of civil law. Paying compensation to the affected parties on civil offences committed on them. If someone damaged for the other parties property or else some other thing, so usually under civil law they are paying compensation, some we can say money. So they are from the courts, they are ordering, they are asking to pay the money for the other party, damaged party. Likewise, paying compensations to the affected parties on civil offences committed on them. Civil procedure code is important with regard to civil law. Now there's a civil procedure code. It is important with regard to civil law. Civil law gives priority to recover damage or restoration of damage from the parties as fault. From this civil law, under this civil law, so it gives priority to recover damage. So if usually some accidents or something like that, so or restoration of damage, property or some other thing from the parties as fault. So damager should give money or some other thing for the damaged party. There are in a case, in each and every case, there can be two parties, no? At least there can be two parties, no? So under civil law, they are giving more priority to recover the damage or restoration of damage. Okay, parties as fault. Last one of civil law. In a civil case, application for relief from court is sought by individual parties is concerned. Usually, under this civil case, they are giving more attention for the individual parties. Usually, in a civil case, application for relief from court is sought by individual parties concerned. Usually, if someone damaged from the other party, usually those damaged party should give the application for the court. Then only the court will give their decision for the other party, and they will consider about that. So we discussed about criminal law and civil law of the country.
රටම දන්න ඉංග්ලිෂ් මීඩියම් ක්ලාස් එක සූනි vlogs by රොවිනි නානායක්කාර දැන් කන්ද උඩ රටට ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍ය නව පන්ති මහනුවර IMS ආයතනයේදී 8 ශ්‍රේණියේ සිට සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ දක්වා history, geography, civic education, health education, ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍ය පන්ති විමසීම් 077 78 06 246 075 84 57 882.
Criminal law covers and includes prevention of crimes, taking action against offences concerning antisocial activities, activities that affect or threaten peace in the public such as murder, torture, ensuring sexual harassments and crimes, rape, damaging common property, stealing property, looting, keeping stolen items and keeping drugs and moreover selling them. So under criminal law, they are considering about these things, because each and every country there can be people in each and every country. So why are they keeping these rules? Because government want to maintain their behaviors. So from this criminal law, they are looking, they are paying their attention for these things, then only they can maintain a good country. So what are they? So you have to underline this. If they ask a question in your term test, what are the things of a criminal law? What are the things that they are considering under criminal law? So you have to write these things. Okay. Now you all know these things. Where we are paying our attention on the people who are keeping drugs. You can see in the television as well. So those are just like criminal things. Not only like that, stealing property, sexual harassments. So these are the really important things. Have you noticed some people, they are hitting for the other party, and they are damaging their lives as well on the road also, like the public thing, just like the public thing. So likewise there are many more things. So all these things are considering under criminal law. Okay, now we are going to see further domestic law. So domestic law also we can classify it into three parts: constitutional law, criminal law, civil law. Domestic law, constitutional law, how many parts? 3 parts: criminal law and civil law. Okay, constitutional law, the supreme law of the exercising the powers of the state. Constitution. In Sinhala, what's the name of this? Especially Putala, these words can be really new to you. So when not like so in some English lessons or English language, so you can't find these words. Okay, so you have to, so there are another set of words in civics, so you have to study those things. Okay, otherwise you will get confused. Okay, so the constitutional mean, what's the meaning of that? Vyavastha. Each and every country, they have this constitutional law, the supreme law of the exercising the powers of the state. So this is the supreme law of a country. Criminal law, as we discussed already, the law preventing antisocial activities done by an individual or a group of individuals. So usually this criminal law preventing antisocial activities done by an individual or a group of individuals. Examples: murder, slanders, rape, thefts, drug trafficking, and child abuse. So usually these law preventing antisocial activities. We discuss many antisocial activities under criminal law. So these under these criminal law they are considering about these things. There are few more things, but we discuss many more things from here. Okay, under this civil law, the law dealing with personal relations of the people. Now we discussed already, likewise contracts, martial affairs, interstate property transmission, rights, banking and business, as well as the problems related to the commercial affairs and lands. Have you noticed there were many cases with some banks, and especially for the business, some people they invested there and they are facing many problems those days. So those things are considering under this civil law. Okay, so likewise here banking and business, so those things are considering under civil law. International law. Strait defines international law as the law that controls interstate relationships. So Strait defines the international law as the law that controls. It's a law. So that controls interstate relationship, maybe within two countries, relationship between states and the international organizations, and the individuals. Okay, now we all know. So usually we have many connections with the other countries, especially with Asian countries, likewise China, India, and some prime ministers and some presidents also, they are visiting to our country. Our president also, he used to visit those countries, as we have many international affairs with those countries. Okay, so not only that, we have many some connections with foreign countries, especially other countries, that means European countries, especially America, so some other countries. So each and every country, they have international relationship with the other countries. Currently, there are many branches of law that have emerged from international law. So usually, there are many branches of law that have emerged from international law. So those things we can see from international law. Okay, so those branches we can see from international law. International law, so as examples, international human rights law, environmental law, law of entrepreneurship, oceanic law, International Court of Justice and International Criminal Court to dispense with international law. So there are many more branches we can see under international law. Surely they will ask a section to write what are the branches of international law. So you have, if not they will ask what are the things which they are considering on international law. So you have to write, especially there are many branches, likewise environmental law and oceanic law and many more things. There are things. The legal system of Sri Lanka. Now we discussed about domestic law, civil law, each and everything, and finally we discussed about international law. And now we are going to discuss about our country. That means the legal system of Sri Lanka. Roman Dutch law is the common law of Sri Lanka. In addition to that, there are few other special laws in Sri Lanka. I think you all have good knowledge about the legal system of Sri Lanka because we did in our grade 9, 10 and now we are studying in grade 11 as well. So these things we studied many more things about the legal system of Sri Lanka. Usually we all know Roman Dutch law is the common law of Sri Lanka nowadays also. So in addition to that, there are few other special law. This is a common law, but there are, in addition to that, there are few other special laws in Sri Lanka. Those are Kandian law, Tesavalami law, Muslim law. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about Kandian law. Kandyan law was in operation during the time of ancient Kandyan kingdom. So we all know, we discussed many things from our grade 8, 9, 10 lessons. Now we are studying from these lessons also. There were many ruling systems in ancient Sri Lanka. So there was another ruling system to Kandyan kingdom. So Kandyan kingdom, who was the last king of Kandyan kingdom? Sri Vikrama Rajasingha, King Sri Vikrama Rajasingha. So during the period of British rule, this law was restricted only to the Sinhalese living in Kandyan territories. So usually this Kandyan law, you all know the British rule. I think you all know about the British rule. So this law was restricted only to the Sinhalese, Sinhala people living in Kandyan territories. Usually this law controls marriage, divorce, hardship. Okay, what are the things? So usually this law controls marriage, divorce, hardship and many more things. Kandyan Sinhalese are free to contract marriages under the general law of the country. So from the Kandyan law, Sinhalese are free to contract marriages under the general law of the country. These are the really important things. Okay, so usually we all know many more rules in our country. Now we are going to learn about Tesavalami law. The term Tesavalami means the custom of the land. Okay, this is really important. The term Tesavalami means the custom of the land. This law had its origin in the customs of the Tamil reside in northern province. This law had this origin in the customs of the Tamil. Okay, in northern province. All those customs were codified into a law in 1706. Okay, who put this rule? Tamils. Because of why? It means the custom of the land. Okay, when it codified in 1706. Muslim law. Muslim law is applicable to anyone who follows Islam. This is really important for Muslims. Al-Quran, Al-Hadith, Sunnahs, Ijma and Qiyas are the documents that are considered as sources of Islamic law. These are the sources, very important. Underline these things. Okay. Mohammedan code made in 1806 is currently operative in Sri Lanka. So still nowadays also we can see this Mohammedan code. Muslims' marriages and divorce, state rights, adoption, maintenance, etc. are governed by this law. They are considering, under Muslims law, they are considering Muslim, that means Muslim people, Muslim marriages and divorce, state rights, adoption. So there are many more things. Okay. Quasi codes were set up in 1929 for the first time to close cases according to Muslim law. Quasi codes, have you heard these words? Okay, the responsibility of a state is to establish a good society in the country while preserving and maintaining law and order. Usually, each and every law maintain good things to control human behavior. Kandyan law, we discussed Kandyan law, Tesavalami law, and now we are discussing about Muslim law. Each and every law, somehow, usually they are making these rules to maintain human behavior, controlling human behavior. So it is essential to work according to indigenous laws when the law is conflict with the other laws of the country. So usually it is essential to work according to indigenous laws when the law is conflict with the other laws of the country. Okay, what do you mean by that? So it is essential to work with according to indigenous laws. When the law is conflict with the other laws. Yes, it is also important to bring dignity to the country when dealing with other countries under international law. So it is also important to bring dignity to the country when dealing with other countries under the international law. So there are many more things in international law as well as the domestic law. So all those are really important. Because why? Especially domestic law is really important to bring the dignity to the country when dealing with other countries under the international law. So we discussed many more things about the domestic law. Under the domestic law, we discussed about criminal law and civil law, and under the domestic law we discussed about constitutional law and criminal law and civil law. Many more things we discussed. So finally we discussed about the legal system of Sri Lanka and Putala. So there are many more questions you can see here. What do you mean by term law? Now you can give the answers for these questions. What do you mean? Then you have to define it. Explain as to why a country needs a law. Each and every country they have set of rules. Why? What's the purpose of law? Describe the special laws in Sri Lanka briefly. So you have to describe the special laws in Sri Lanka briefly. Now we learned many more things. Now you all can write the answers for these questions. So from the next lesson I hope to come with the judicial system in Sri Lanka. Thank you for watching me.
රටම දන්න ඉංග්ලිෂ් මීඩියම් ක්ලාස් එක සූනි ව්ලොග්ස් by රොවිනි නානායක්කාර දැන් කන්ද උඩ රටට ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍ය නව පන්ති මහනුවර IMS ආයතනයේදී 8 ශ්‍රේණියේ සිට සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ දක්වා history, geography, civic education, health education ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍ය පන්ති විමසීම් 077 78 06 246 075 85 84 57 882